do you really want to get a master's degree? Do you really want to get a master's degree? Notice the word really there. Yeah. So you need to answer it honestly. You may click yes or no or not sure. Okay, so why did I ask that question? Why did I ask, whether you really need a master's degree? Because our topic today encompasses the why and the how, right? The why and the how. So we're talking mostly about the why and the how to get a master's degree, right? And according to Nietzsche, a very well-known philosopher and also psychoanalyst, anyone who has a why can bear almost any how. So if you guys know the why you need a master's degree, I believe that you guys will find a way. You'll find the how to get the scholarship, right? So first, you're gonna need to know why you need that scholarship, that master's degree, okay? So let me tell you a bit of my story. I think it has been stated earlier, or maybe some of you might already know about it. So actually, I took the path less traveled. I earned my B.Ed in 2013, and my major was, of course, English language education. And then while having my academic journey for getting my bachelor's degree, I was also working part-time as a tutor. So I wrote that in my CV, because when we apply for a scholarship, usually we're going to need to write a motivation letter or a statement of purpose. Yeah. And also perhaps you're going to need to write a CV. So I wrote those two things in my CV. And of course, including, the GPA, yeah, the GPA. So you need to make sure that you get a good GPA, yeah, while you graduate if you want to continue pursuing a master's degree. And then after I graduated, I saw an announcement uh, in the hallway of one of the buildings in my university, and it says, something about the scholarship in Thailand. So at that time, I tried to apply for the scholarship. And in the middle of applying of that scholarship, I was actually planning to apply for another one, and that's the Fulbright scholarship. But then 2 months later, I got the notification. To my surprise, I was accepted to, study there. So then I was quite confused because I was preparing for, the Fulbright scholarship, right? But I haven't submitted all the application forms and also the documents. And well, I was quite confused whether I would continue with the scholarship and then go to Thailand, or whether I would continue with the application. And after considering the decision and also talking to my parents, finally I took the study in Thailand. So I took the offer to study the master's degree in Thailand. And then I was also confused about another thing, like deciding which major I would take, right? Because it's in Thailand. It's quite similar to Indonesia, right? Most of the people there, they are EFL users of English. So would I take English major? Would I take English language education major? Or would I take another major? And I think that's also another important thing that you need to know when you are going to take a scholarship. When you're going to apply for a scholarship, you're going to need to know what major you're taking and also what university. And then I saw this major, linguistics, and it's actually, I think linguistics might be interesting. So I took that major, linguistics, because I wanted to know whether um, you know I can know more about how languages are studied and also how languages are taught, right? So I took that major. And while I was pursuing my master's degree, I also worked part-time as an English and Bahasa Indonesia teacher at a high school in Thailand. And also I worked part-time as, guest speakers, yeah, because they frequently held like an ASEAN activity. So the scholarship was actually part of ASEAN scholarships. At that time, Thailand offered a lot of scholarships to ASEAN countries, including Indonesia, and the scholarship offered by the university was actually part of ASEAN scholarships. So as one of our duties, we had to speak in some places as guest speaker talking about Indonesia or about our countries. And then those also became my work experience while studying my master's degree. And I graduated in 2015, and then I applied for the teaching, position. So if we get back to the first question, did I really need a master's degree? I'm gonna need to get back to the goal, right? Previously, I stated about goal. So my goal was actually to work as a lecturer at university. That was actually my goal. So I wanted to do something as a lecturer. So that's why one of the way to accomplish that goal is pursuing a master's degree. And then by taking the master's degree, I can get the job, right? So one of the milestones that you need to get the goal, if you want to be a lecturer, for example, or if you want to work in a certain field that requires an expertise in master's degree program, then you might consider pursuing a scholarship or a master's degree. Okay. And let me get back to the Mentimeter. Okay, so I think 8 of you answered yes, and 6 were still unsure. Yeah, nobody answered no. Okay, now what about this? This is a question that is really loved by lecturers and teachers, I believe. Yeah, why question? But I think it's really hated by the students. So the next question is this one. Really, why do you need a master's degree? Yeah, so if you answered yes or not sure, with a high probability of taking a master's degree, then the next question is why? Why do you need a master's degree? What's your goal? That's another word for that. Yeah. So what's your goal? Why do you need a master's degree? Can you please type your answer here? In some phrases or in a sentence, probably. Okay. So when we're talking about the master's degree, when we're talking about post-bachelor's degree, there are many options to explore. Your major right now is English language education, right? What do you want to be in the future? Do you want to be a teacher? If you want to be a teacher in Indonesia, for example, you might not need a master's degree. Many of my friends, they become good teachers of English in Indonesia, and they didn't take any master's degree because that's not, the requirement for being a teacher. To be a teacher, English teacher in Indonesia, you only need a bachelor's degree. But if you want to be a lecturer, the minimum requirement is for you to have a master's degree, right? So why do you need to take a master's degree? And then, do you perhaps want to do another thing? Do you want to do something else? Maybe you want to be, a researcher. So if you want to research about language, then you can be a lecturer. And then do you want to expand your horizon in another field like literature, for example? You may make that transition from this major to another major. And when you need to make that kind of transition, then you might need to take a master's degree, right? To, broaden your knowledge in that field. And then, or maybe do you want to move to another field like tourism or hospitality industry? You want to work for a hotel, for example, then if that is the case, you might need to take a master's degree, right? Or do you want to work as a journalist? Do you want to work in the field of media studies, or do you want to work in business or marketing or many other fields other than language teaching? If that is your purpose, then taking a master's degree might be a good option, I believe. Yeah. And then what can you get when you are pursuing a master's degree? Yeah, I took this actually from LAM. Yeah, according to LAM, there are several improvements that we can get when you are studying a master's degree. So the first one, you may undergo a cognitive development, because taking a master's degree requires you to make a shift from consumer of knowledge to the producer of knowledge. When you are becoming a master student, usually you will not get everything from the lectures. You will need to search for many things by yourself. So one thing to remember when you are preparing for maybe a scholarship application for a master's degree, you need to make sure that you become a more independent learner. Independence, that's very important for a master's degree student. And then the next thing, other than the cognitive development, you also need the so-called intrapersonal development. Intrapersonal is related to your own beliefs, to your own values, to your own identities. Oftentimes, you will redefine your beliefs, your values, your identities. At the time, I believe that a good teaching of English would be something like that. And then when you are studying a master's degree, you might find out that it's actually quite a different scenario. It's actually something else, for example. So you will find a lot of new things when you are studying a master's degree. And then getting a master's degree is also a good option if you want to develop your interpersonal, aspects. Like if you want to broaden your networking, if you want to get more international relations, you want to get more international friends, taking a scholarship, a master's degree might help you to do that. So you need to find your goal, and then when you have the goal, you will know what to do. You will know the how. So I think this is my last thing before we get back to the Mentimeter. So if you already have the why, and then when you have the why, you will look for the how, right? You will try to find the how. Then you're gonna need to make some plan for that. And one way to do that is by preparing it from now. So you might need to make a plan, like 1 year ahead, 3 years ahead, and then 5 or 6 years ahead. Try to imagine what you're going to do to achieve the goal. Remember, so you need to have a goal after you graduate. What do you want to be? What do you want to do? What do you want to achieve? And then in order to take that goal, do you need to take a master's degree or not? And if you need to take a master's degree, then you will need to prepare everything, like getting a good GPA, and then having a good motivation, because later on you will need to write motivation letter, right? And then building a good relationships with your lecturer, for example, because later on you will need to have a recommendation. And then preparing for IELTS or TOEFL, perhaps, right? Because some countries they require IELTS, or some countries they require TOEFL. For ASEAN countries, as long as I know, as far as I'm concerned, I think most of them they accept both TOEFL and IELTS. But for the United States or maybe Canada, usually they'll recommend TOEFL, and then for Australia or UK, they will require you to take IELTS. So I think that's the end. And then let me get back to the Mentimeter.